Hey guys, there's been a patch that dropped really suddenly. It's patch 1.21, and I'm going to talk about some of the changes, and let's just get right into it. So, there are very few balance changes. Let's just get to them. So, they adjusted the split staff's active skill changing ways by increasing key consumption, reducing damage, and increasing key damage. Wait, they increased its key damage? Okay. It definitely warranted a nerf. I found that when I was just messing around with it, it took me some time to notice in my chat, stream chat actually highlighted this to me, but its damage is way too high. I literally started to skill spam it, and once I noticed that it was a skill spammable thing, it was just silly. It was doing at least like twice the damage of grapples, which is silly. So it definitely needed a nerf. I personally really like the skill, and I love the flavor of it, but the fact that it was just doing so much damage discouraged me from using it. But again, it's personal preference. So I think this is totally warranted. The fact that its key damage is higher is kind of hilarious, but again, they definitely needed the damage nerf. So next up is the fact that they adjusted dual sword's active skill spinning dragon to make it easier to face the enemy. This is a great benefit to this ability. One of the weaknesses of it, and one of the most common complaints, was just that its tracking was so poor, people would just not feel incentivized to use this. So having that is certainly good, and I'm very happy about that. Now I think it makes Spinning Dragon a much more meaningful choice as opposed to Cherry Blossom. Now I personally wish I could use both Cherry Blossom and Spinning Dragon, but that's not the focus of this video. Next up is the fact that they increase the duration of effects granted by the special effects Empowered Ninjutsu, Empowered Onmyo Magic. This is nice, and I think everyone's going to be happy about that, especially if you're using Marisi's Grace or Tsukiyomi's Grace. That's really good. Now on to some bug fixes, and I can just tell you some of you will probably be a little disappointed with some of these, but I think they are important nonetheless. So let's just go through each one. There's an issue where save data failed to load. That's great. Thank you for fixing that. Switching between spoken languages would cause errors. Again, that's necessary. Fix an issue in which Scroll the Damned were items with high plus values dropped without enhancing the blessings of the departed. Again, it's probably intended that you would use blessings of the departed to get your high plus values. That's not what it is at all. Fix an issue in the Scroll of the Damned where items with high plus values dropped without enhancing blessings of the departed. Obviously, an intended effect should work as it's intended, and now they've addressed the bug. My bad, I was thinking about something else pertaining to the Underworld. Speaking of Underworld, fix an issue where spectral salves would not drop in the Underworld. That is important. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's not based on elixirs, it's on spectral salve. So, thank you. Fix an issue in which the Underworld, where if the user went to retrieve an equipment set, sacred medicine would be withdrawn from the storehouse. That's a little weird. So thanks. Fix an issue where ammo would not be auto-refilled when praying at a shrine. Thank you for fixing that. Become a visitor feature in the Underworld where matchmaking did not work. Ooh, that's pretty bad. And then this one. This is what I'm pretty sure most people are going to be disappointed about. Fix an issue where players could die at the treasure hall in the Underworld. Now, this was an exploit for many players that I saw, in that you loot the entire treasure hall, you die, you revive right back where you were, and the entire loot room is full again. Now, yes, that sucks, but it's obviously a total exploit to be able to just get so much loot. So, right. That's fair. Sucks, but it's fair. Fix an issue in the Crucible where the boss would keep attacking a companion awaiting assistance. Well, that's a bit odd. Thank you for fixing that. There's an issue where Sanctity Talisman could remove the status enhancements in the Crucible. Now that really sucks. When you get your buffs this time in the Underworld, you want to be able to keep them. So thank you for fixing that. There's an issue where Underworld expeditions where guests could play uncleared floors under certain conditions. Now this was a massive exploit as well, in which, all right, I know that there were some players who were able to access the final floor of the Underworld without literally having done any of the floors before. So major exploit, and I'm glad they fixed that, because obviously it's meant to be like, hey, you go through floor 1 through the end, and so it's appropriate. Fix an issue where using Spinning Dragon on a slope could result in a drop attack being performed. Now that's certainly weird because that's not how Spinning Dragon works. There's a follow-up with it. There's no drop attack with it. So thank you. Fix an issue that prevented the use of active skills that require button input while guarding with an axe during a guard hit. Wait, let me see if I understand that. So I can't use active skills. Before I couldn't use active skills. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I've had this happen where it's like I'm trying to do, say, like Spirit Wind with the axe, or I'm trying to do like Titanic Strength or whatever. And, it's a block input that you got to put into it. But then let's say you get hit, right? You get hit and then you're blocking. And then you're like, all right, I just want to fire off one of these abilities because that's what I would do normally. Well, it just wouldn't happen. I'm like, why is this going on? And I didn't even really understand it. I thought I was just, hey, it's my poor inputs. But fortunately, it's good to know that it was actually a bug. And now, hopefully, when I boot up the game, it'll work as normal. Great. I'm really happy about that. And then last thing on this page, there's an issue with the Kusa skill, Bird of Prey, where key consumption occurred even when you failed to activate it and guarded the enemy's attack instead. That sucks. Thank you for fixing that. All right, and then second page, let's continue onwards. Fix an issue where grapples performed by Fatal Thrust, the spear skill, would not trigger special effects which require grapple as a condition. Thank you for fixing that. Here was an issue that I saw actually just like maybe a few hours ago. So there's an issue with Moonlit Snow Redux in mid stance, and there's just like this whole weird thing with how it works with Bolting Boar, and so I'm glad that they addressed that. And I know some players like de-equipped Bolting Boar, or they de-equip certain other things so that they could actually use Moonlit Snow Redux in mid stance. So thanks for fixing that. Next is cause some attacks to fail to hit when an enemy became paralyzed. Obviously, if they can't move, I want to be able to hit them, so thank you for fixing that. Onwards, Ongyoki's clones would sometimes occur more than expected. That is interesting. Again, something that I may not necessarily notice, but I'm sure the team did, and obviously they have addressed that. There's an issue with Kinky's Rock slamming attack, which would not hit players in areas with low ceilings. I mean, it's a pretty scary attack, but it should hit players if that's what it's meant to do. So thank you. There's an issue in specific underworld stages where Kinky could roll non-existent rocks. Weird. I have not seen this, but again, I haven't personally dabbled with the underworld much. I haven't touched it at all yet, but I've seen others mess about with it. There's an issue which prevented attacks from hitting a disengaged Kinky from behind. If it's not in combat, I should be able to get the sneak attack. So thanks. There's an issue with Tsuiki in the Yokai realm. Fools should always be staggered by attacks to the head, even after their horns have been destroyed. So, general combat flow is you break the horns once, you get a lot of key damage, and you get a brief stagger. Being able to abuse that kind of goes against the threat level that enemies like Suiki, Fuki, Ongyoki, and what's the last one? Kinky have. So, they're supposed to be very threatening enemies. Being able to trivialize them is kind of goes against their, I guess, design. And speaking of more things with Tsuiki, there was an issue that prevented the burst attack, the tornado one specifically, which is pretty wild, from being countered by a burst counter in the middle of the action. I think I've noticed that like once, but again, I haven't spent much time with her, so I think it's just me talking out of my ass. Next up, there's an issue where Obsidian Samurai would sometimes get stuck in a victory pose if another player was killed during multiplayer. That must have been kind of funny at first and then annoying as time went by. There was an issue that prevented Mujina from appearing in treasure chests during the main mission Dawn of the Spawn. I think this is the DLC. I think this is Dawn of the Demon, right? I don't remember. This is probably the first DLC 3 mission. And I think I noticed there were certain chests that had the Mujina sort of like tell, with the 3 straps and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to whistle to call it out. And then it wouldn't actually be in there, which was kind of weird. And so I didn't know if it was intentional, and there's some speculation in the Discord about it, but it looks like it was a bug, so thanks for fixing that. It'll make subsequent playthroughs of that level that much more enjoyable. There's an issue where the compass would sometimes show the location of items that could not be acquired after defeating the boss in the main mission, A Distant Dream. Okay, didn't know that was an issue. There's an issue that caused bloody graves to appear in the submission against all comers. Yeah, that we don't really want to deal with revenants in that mission as it is. That would be annoying to say the least. There was an issue where Tateheboshi would sometimes fly off stage in the submission battle at the temple. That could be hilarious, but again, thanks for fixing that. Next up is an issue that caused some walls to disappear after praying at a shrine, and the spirits returned submission. Oh, okay. Well, good they got that out of the way. Fix an issue where acolytes could be left outside the battle area and the submission. The spirits return. Yeah, definitely if you're gonna hire an acolyte, you wanna be able to work with them, so that's pretty important. And then we're on to pretty much the final things here. Certain smithing texts were not dropped by certain enemies, and I had actually briefly heard about this, so thanks for addressing that. And then this is actually really strange. Fixed an issue where the effect value for anima bonus purified enemy was higher than expected. So I remember seeing it kind of be weird. Like you'd see this effect and it would always drop at like, I've seen it like triple A plus, and I'm like, what the hell? Why is like my rank 3 soul core that has this have triple A plus? Like, not that I mind, but it's just at a low rank. I mean, I imagine at top rank it would be triple A plus, not at like low rank. And from what we figured out, the value didn't change whatsoever. It seems that triple A plus is the highest possible value for anything. So there's that. And then there are a bunch of other bug fixes. So minor ones that I guess really most players aren't really gonna notice too much. Overall, I think this patch is helpful. I do hope for more in the future, but I think the biggest issues have more or less been addressed in terms of bug fixes. I am personally very happy about the adjustments they have made here. I think changing ways was legitimately overpowered, and it was so overpowered. Again, I just couldn't use this ability. It just wasn't fun to use because it just trivialized everything. And I'm very happy that spinning dragon tracking, it has been improved. I think it needed it. It's a fantastic skill, and so thank you for that. And then of course, making Marisi's Grace and making Tsukiyomi's Grace's final effects, Empowered Ninjutsu and Empowered Omeya Magic better is certainly a good thing, and I'm very happy about that. So we'll have to see what's coming out in the future, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope this was helpful, and I will see you guys next time.